In the earlier lessons, we have seen how to add the repositories section in our build.gradle file to tell Gradle where to pull the dependencies from. Currently, our project is pulling the dependencies from Maven Central remote repo. However, we know that we can change Maven Central to different remote repo like JCenter or Google, or even your local repo. Now let's assume you want to get all your dependencies from Maven Central, but if your dependencies are not found in Maven Central, you want Gradle to pull the dependencies from a different location. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'll change the repositories section to the following. This repositories section implies that Gradle will attempt to resolve any declared dependencies like JSoup from these remote repos in the order in which they are declared. Gradle will try to find that dependency in Maven Central first, and if it's not found, Gradle will check in JCenter, and if it's not found, Gradle will check in Google. Also, you can specify the URL for the repository's location. For example, I want to provide the URL where I'm pulling my Maven dependencies from. You can add it like the following example from Gradle documentation. In short, I want you to remember that you can pull repositories from specific URL if required. Now let's do Gradle build to make sure the project is still running fine after changing the repositories section. I'm going to use the Gradle wrapper, Gradle W for wrapper, build, and build successful. Now you might be wondering where Gradle put these dependencies. Actually, Gradle stored them in the Gradle cache. Let's take a look at my local cache, and under .gradle path, I'll open the caches folder, and we can see here that we have multiple versions of Gradle that we downloaded earlier in the course using the Gradle wrapper. But I'm mainly concerned about the dependencies. Under Module 2, you will find the metadata for some of our dependencies, and under the files folder here, you will find all the dependencies, JUnit, JSoup library, and the hammock rest. Actually, we did not have a line in our dependencies section to bring the hammock rest. However, it came as a transitive dependency when we asked for JUnit. I'll talk more about transitive dependencies in the next video. Now let's delete the JSoup dependency. Let's run the Gradle W build with info enabled. Gradle W build -i. And let's scroll a little bit up. And we can see here that JSoup library got downloaded again. Now let's look at the cache folder, and we can see here that JSoup library is back again because we rerun the build command. Now let's clear the terminal, and I'll do Gradle build -i again. And as we can see here, there is no new download for the JSoup library. And this is because the dependency exists in the Gradle cache, since I had run the same Gradle task a few seconds ago. Gradle caches the dependency jar files to allow us to save time during the build process. At first, Gradle check if the required dependencies defined in the build.gradle file exist in the local cache before re-downloading the same dependency. Actually, Gradle does that by comparing the hashes of the required dependencies between the local cache and the remote repo. Now let's say you want to refresh your dependencies. You can do that by deleting the specific dependencies from your cache Or you can use Gradle build command with the refresh dependencies option. I'll clear the terminal and I run Gradle w build refresh dependencies with the I option, so we can see if it really download the dependency again. And let's scroll a little bit up. JSoup library got downloaded.